right? So garden fresh vegetables. We also have some cilantro, right? Cilantro is a key ingredient for all of our salsas. Our serrano peppers, right? And then some limes, right? And since they are straight from the garden, an insect or anything could have been on there, we're gonna go give them a wash. Still trying to get used to the first week of working back in the kitchen, and B, right, the new setup of the kitchen, and C, trying to do it without students here and their help. All right, so first thing, right, wash the tomatoes. I put them in this pot, right, so the water can drain and I don't have to worry about it being on the table. Okay, so we're just gonna prepare the tomatoes. Now, the nice thing too is our food processor, right? Our food processor will blend everything up for us, so we don't have to do it. A blender works as well, or if you wanted to hand chop your salsa, you can hand chop your salsa. But I'm gonna go ahead and throw it in a blender, or throw it in the food processor. I typically just like to cut the tomatoes in half, right? Cut off the tops, over and over again. Right, we did pick a handful of these from our garden outside. So, making sure everything is sanitized and clean, right? Especially in the world we live in right now. 2020, who would have guessed, right? One thing to remember also with our knives is they are Cutco, so they are very sharp, coming right out of the box or right out of the gate, right? Once you sharpen them, the rep or the company always says it's as good as new. And I just sharpened this one, and as you can see, I'm not even pushing it, and it's just slicing these babies up. So tomatoes carry a lot of water as well, right? So some people will take off the skin, some people will take out the inside, so it's just the flesh, right? The tomatoes I grow at my house and out in the garden here, right? The 4th of July's or the Romas. Right? Have more of a meatier flesh, so you don't have to get a lot of the water waste. But typically once you add it to salsa, and the cilantro's in there, and the onion, and all that kind of stuff, you don't have too much to worry about. But you can, and I do it sometimes, is I'll take a ladle, right, and I'll actually pull out some water from the salsa, maybe a cup of water. And that water is very tasty. I mean, it's the salsa water, so you can drink it. I usually have myself a little gulp or three, right? Just to make sure that my salsa doesn't get salt or garlic or anything like that. Alright, I can post this recipe to the classroom if you'd like. It's pretty easy. Yeah, actually I'll probably do that today for you, so you have that. A lot of my students, right, that have salsa made at your house, or you know how to, maybe you helped your mom or grandma or dad or anybody like that, right? Make salsa, kind of know what's going on. So, but maybe for the rest of you that don't have that sort of influence, we'll put it up there on that classroom floor. All right. So, when I make salsa, or when I try to encourage people to make salsa, right, I always like to do it in steps. Right, so I'm going to do the tomatoes first, then the greens and the onion, then add it all together. Didn't look fair. Wanted to make sure you guys had the same amount of tomatoes. Go. All right, so the food processor is kind of a trickier machine. It needs all of its attachments to properly fit in, and we have commercial grade food processors. So these are the ones they use in restaurants. It just has an on and an off and a pulse button, and we want to use the pulse, right, to just chop up the tomatoes a bit, right? We're not going to turn it on and make soup. Yes, you can make salsa like that, and yes, I've been at places that it is kind of a sauce or a soupy mess, but see, when you're not using them all the time, they forget which way they go. Other way. There we go. Alright, and then it'll be in a bowl. Alright, and we're going to use this bowl as our true mixing bowl, right? So we'll put this back in, that back down, chop up our peppers. Alright, so now jalapenos or serranos or habaneros, right? The harder part is the seeds. So if you do want a hot salsa, right, you just leave it in there. Take off the stems. Okay. If you're sensitive, right, don't touch your eyes or scratch. Use the bathroom, right? The bathroom actually will burn. If you are chopping a bunch of peppers or something, you go back in there and you're like, ah, it hurts. So here's our cilantro, right? We're gonna give it a quick little shake here just to get the water off so there's not so much in the salsa itself. I typically just grab it, right? Where that band is where I twist from. And then that's all goes in there, right? Green onions, you can use white onions, things like that. We're just gonna use green onions today. Okay, throw those in. Okay, and then while this is chopping up, this is where you can hit the on button and walk away. While this is chopping up, we'll grab the salt, pepper, and things like that. This lid does not like me today. Alright, so that's mixing up. Right, not a lot in there, because this is a big food processor. But we'll add some dry ingredients in there. Alright, a little onion powder. A little garlic powder. Alright. A couple good pinches of salt. So since it is kind of dried out, an easy way to kind of get around that is to use some of your tomato mixture. So just a little bit, right? Because we were talking about the water consistency, right? There's lots of water in there. We can get that in there. Get a little bit more mixed up. You can even use your spatula, right? If you're a skilled individual. Not worry about a skilled individual. Let's just go ahead and turn it off. Scrape down the sides, right? That's kind of where all the other stuff is. There we go. Ooh, it smells good. Go. Let that chop open. Once it's completed, right, the blade will turn back on, so you always want to be careful with that. So just that little bit of tomato juice, right? Helped this out a lot. There's already a lot of water in cilantro, but it helped it out. I don't know if you can see that in there, but we're just gonna go ahead and add the green to the red, right? And if you had onion or fresh garlic, right? I have a little fresh garlic, I put that in there, I didn't tell you. I did. All right, and then you're just gonna take this, right? This is instead of throwing everything in the food processor together, right? You're layering the ingredients in. I think they mix a little bit better and you get a little better end result. Then you can actually go through and, like I'm seeing here, there's a couple big chunks of tomato, right? I could take that and put it back in the food processor, right? So we're mixing that up, mixing it up. Woo! Man, it smells good. I'll tell you what. Right? And I'm going to use a ladle here and I'll show you real quick, hopefully quick, right? Quite a bit of residual water in here still. A little bit there, right? That's all water. So I'll do that in a little bit. But easy salsa, right? We use it fresh out of the garden. You can be doing that anytime you want.